Renter's insurance sounds simple. You pay a small premium, you assume your stuff is protected, and you assume a claim will be straightforward when life goes sideways. In real claims, denials usually do not happen because the adjuster is in a bad mood. They happen because the policy language is narrow, the covered causes of loss are specific, the exclusions are strict, and the documentation requirements are unforgiving. The most expensive lesson is learning after a loss that you bought a policy that does not match your actual risk. This voiceover is educational. It is not legal advice. It is not insurance advice. And it does not replace reading your own policy, declarations page, and endorsements. Renters' policies vary by company and by state, and specific wording matters. Still, there are predictable coverage gaps that show up again and again, and they are responsible for a large share of painful claim outcomes. In this video, we will walk through 8 coverage gaps that commonly trigger denials or major reductions using realistic claim scenarios. For each gap, you will hear what the renter expected, what the insurer relied on to deny or limit the claim, and what you can do now to reduce the odds of that outcome. Before we start, a quick primer on how a renter's claim is evaluated. The insurer looks at 5 big questions. Was there a direct physical loss to covered property? Did the loss happen at a covered location or an eligible off-premises location? Was the cause of loss covered, meaning it is not excluded and it fits the policy form? Do any special limits apply to that category of property? Did you comply with policy conditions like prompt notice, protection of property, proof of loss, and documentation? If any one of those fails, the claim can be denied, or partially paid, or paid far less than you expected. Now, Gap 1. Gap 1. Flood and rising water, including storm surge and surface water. Scenario: Maya rents a ground floor apartment near a creek. A tropical system stalls over the area. Rain falls for hours. The creek rises. Water pushes through the door threshold, then through the baseboards, then across the living room. Her couch, rug, media console, and a couple of boxes of clothes are soaked. She calls her insurer. She has renter's insurance. She assumes water damage is water damage. What happens? The adjuster asks one key question: where did the water come from? The answer is outside, from rising water, surface water, overflow of a body of water, or storm surge. Most renters' policies exclude flood-related water sources under the water damage exclusions. So the claim for personal property is denied, and if she also claims for temporary housing, the loss of use portion is also denied because the underlying cause of loss is excluded. She may still have coverage if her building owner has separate flood coverage that addresses some building components, but that does not automatically pay for her personal property. Why it surprises people. Many renters think the policy covers any sudden water event. In practice, renters' insurance often covers accidental discharge or overflow from plumbing, heating, air conditioning, or household appliances, but it usually excludes flood and rising water. The distinction is source and pathway, not the final result of wet belongings. How to close the gap. If you are anywhere that could flood, even if it is not on a map you have seen, ask about flood insurance for renters. Flood coverage is typically separate, often through a national program or private flood insurers, and it may be priced differently than you expect. Also, think about elevation, ground floor units, basement units, and nearby drainage. If you rely on renters' insurance to protect you from flood, you are relying on the wrong tool. Also, create a flood-ready inventory plan. Keep key items elevated. Store documents and electronics in water-resistant containers, and keep photos of your property in a cloud account. Flood losses are chaotic, and documentation becomes harder after everything is wet. Transition. If flood is Gap 1, there is a close cousin that catches renters off guard: sewer and drain backup. Gap 2. Sewer or drain backup without an endorsement. Scenario. Jordan lives on the second floor, so he assumes flood is not his problem. One weekend, the city sewer line clogs after heavy rain, pressure builds, and sewage backs up through the building drain system. The lowest drains in the building overflow, including the laundry drain in the shared utility room. The odor is intense, moisture spreads, and Jordan cannot stay in the unit. He files a claim for clothes stored nearby, a portable air conditioner in the utility room, and additional living expenses while remediation happens. What happens? The insurer asks again, what is the source? The answer is water that backed up through sewers or drains. Many renters' policies exclude sewer or drain backup unless you purchased a specific endorsement, sometimes called water backup or some overflow coverage. Without it, the claim is denied. Some companies may cover certain resulting damage in narrow circumstances, but most apply an explicit exclusion for backup. Why it surprises people. To a renter, backup feels like plumbing. To an insurer, backup is a separate category of risk, with high frequency and high severity losses, and it is priced separately. Also, renters often underestimate how much property is at risk in basements, lower storage areas, and shared rooms, even when their unit is upstairs. How to close the gap. Ask your insurer or agent if your renter's policy includes water backup coverage. If it does, confirm the limit, because endorsements often come with relatively low sublimits, and remediation and replacement costs can exceed those limits quickly. Also, understand what the endorsement covers. Some versions cover direct damage to your personal property, and some also cover additional living expenses, and some have separate conditions. Practical step. Do not store anything valuable on the floor in areas near drains, water heaters, sump pits, or laundry sinks. Elevate bins, use shelving, and keep expensive items in your unit, not in a basement closet that is one clogged pipe away from ruin. Transition. Now we move from water to earth, a gap that renters in many states ignore until the day they need it. Gap-free. Earthquake, earth movement, and related events like landslide. Scenario. Sophia rents a top-floor unit in a mid-rise building. A moderate earthquake hits during the night. She is physically fine, but the shaking throws her bookcase forward, a wall-mounted television falls, dishes shatter, and a desktop computer slides off a desk. She also sees cracks in the interior drywall and damage to a couple of light fixtures. She files a claim, expecting it to work like any other sudden event. What happens? The insurer points to an earth movement exclusion. Many renters' policies exclude earthquake, earth movement, landslide, mudflow, and similar events, even if there is direct damage to property. The claim is denied for her personal property losses. If she cannot stay in the unit because the building is unsafe, the loss of use coverage may also be denied because the loss was caused by an excluded peril. Why it surprises people. People assume earthquake is rare, or they assume the building is the main concern, not their belongings. But renters' claims after seismic events are often personal property claims because items fall, break, and become unsafe even when the building remains standing. How to close the gap. If you live in an earthquake-prone area, ask about earthquake coverage for renters.